Unemployment could peak at 15%. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article written by Tarek Brooker at news.com.au. Australian unemployment could skyrocket to 15% in 2021. Now, before we look at that, I want to introduce you all, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, the Roy Morgan unemployment numbers. They've got the unemployment and underemployment estimates, because what Tarek is referencing in his article is the ABS unemployment numbers. I'm just going to bring them up here, and right now you can see we're sitting about 7%. Now, I think I have to update that chart. Yes, I do. It's gone up to 7% unemployment, and you can see that's not looking too good. But the general rule of thumb is because of the way the ABS conduct their interviews to determine unemployment, which seems really old-fashioned to be quite honest, it's quite questionable if it's accurate. I mean, just let me know in the comments while I have a shot of coffee. Do you think 1 hour of work is enough to be considered employed? Now, unless you're in a very high demand field, I doubt it. So here we have the Roy Morgan data. We can scroll down. We can see what their estimates of unemployment and underemployment is. Combined unemployment and underemployment, at the moment they're saying it's 21%. Unemployment is 11.9 and underemployment is 9.1. This combined is the concerning one. 21% of the workforce underemployed or unemployed, everyone. That's concerning. So generally you take the ABS figures, you'd kind of double it to get around about, thumb approximation of what the Roy Morgan would be, and probably a more realistic understanding of where unemployment is. Now, if we jump back to here, let's just have a look at the job seeker boost. Look at those numbers that have increased just from March this year, everyone. Right here, look at the climb. Job seeker, youth allowance, new start, everything shot up. You've got over 1.4 million people on job seeker at the peak, which has come back down under 1.4 million, but still quite high. Look at how many people are on job seeker and youth allowance in every state, everyone. 405,000 in Victoria, 420,000 in New South Wales. And it just gets higher. ACT, remarkably low. Remarkably low. Surprising no one. But then again, aren't civil servants all pretty much on a version of job seeker anyway? Pow. And then if you add JobKeeper onto this, it's gone up from 863 to 962,000. I mean, there you go. What's concerning is if we look at the percentage of workforce, or sorry, not workforce, employed people is the term. And you can see here in Victoria, it's at nearly 9%. That's concerning. On JobKeeper, guys, not job seeker, JobKeeper. These are businesses that are being propped up by the government. I'm sure a lot of them don't even need it. But they have to take it because it's a competitive disadvantage to not. Can't blame them, guys. Even the small one-person operations that take it, you can't blame them. You can understand how it's not a smart government policy, but so when the coronavirus pandemic first began significantly impacting Australian jobs and businesses back in March, the situation was dire. Projections of up to 3.45 million jobs being at risk were made, and the Morrison government threw caution to the wind, unveiling the job seeker and JobKeeper programs in relatively short order. Now, as we head towards the end of what has been a tumultuous year, things appear to be looking up. In recent weeks, there have been multiple data releases which have shown some very promising signs for the economy. The national accounts showed the economy grew by 3.3% in the September quarter despite the lockdowns that impacted the Victorian economy during much of the period. Meanwhile, figures from the ATO showed 450,000 businesses have seen their turnover recover to the point where they no longer qualify for JobKeeper. As a result, around 2 million Australians are no longer reliant on the JobKeeper program, leaving around 1.5 million workers still being supported by JobKeeper. Overall, you could be forgiven for thinking that things were on the fast track to normalcy, and that this hardship-filled chapter of Australian history was entering its final act. Like so many other economic crises in the better part of a generation, Australia seems to have somehow dodged the worst of the economic pain, even while other nations face double-digit unemployment and long, difficult recoveries. But are we out of the woods just yet? After the initial wave of government support for households and businesses was secured in an atmosphere of most dire emergency, the political imperative for the Morrison government to continue such enormous levels of support has faded. With the stream of relatively positive economic data continuing to flow in, the drive to continue such unprecedented levels of support seemingly continue to evaporate with each passing day. However, after around $257 billion in federal government stimulus and support measures alone, it's not really all that surprising that the economy is performing quite well, given how successfully Australia has managed the virus compared with most of the rest of the world. To put this support into perspective, it's almost 5 times as much as the Rudd government's $52 billion stimulus package deployed during the GFC. Back in 2008, the bulk of the Rudd government's stimulus was spread across multiple years, while today the vast majority of stimulus has been provided in just 8 months. When looking at the flows into the bank accounts of households, the effect is clear. Household incomes have skyrocketed despite the fact the economy was in its first recession in almost 3 decades. Here we go. Wages and government benefits. I mean, we've seen that. In short, the Morrison government's various stimulus programs have created a protective bubble for millions of households in which the recession was never really allowed to begin. It seems like it, doesn't it? Here's the thing. You need recessions. In this juiced up fiat currency system that's artificially manipulated all the time. Bad times need to clear out the inefficient businesses. That's just a harsh part of reality, everyone. That they're not allowing to happen. That they're putting this burden on future generations. The grandkids will be paying for this. With household incomes remaining elevated due to hundreds of billions of dollars in government support still feeding through the economy, how it will fare when all that support is finally removed remains something of a mystery. According to modelling by the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute, conducted by researchers from the University of Adelaide and Curtin, the hit to the labour market from the conclusion of JobKeeper could be profound. Under the baseline mild scenario, unemployment is forecast to rise to 8.7%. For the most dire, severe scenario, unemployment would rise to 15.1%, and 1.752 million Australians would find themselves out of a job. With Treasury currently forecasting unemployment to peak around 8%, even the mild scenario coming to pass would prove an unexpectedly large hit to the labour market. Anything within the ballpark of the more severe scenario would be nothing less than a disaster. Meanwhile, governments across the nation are increasingly looking for ways to pay for the enormous amount of stimulus expenditure. In Victoria, the government is set to increase the number of speed cameras by 75%, with revenue from speeding fines expected to increase by almost 60%, according to the recent state budget. This comes amid reports from ratings agency S&P that Victoria and New South Wales have had their coveted AAA credit ratings downgraded, prompting speculation the federal government may follow in the new year. As the ongoing trade and diplomatic tensions continue to rise between Beijing and Canberra, no discussion about the future of the Aussie economy would be complete without mentioning this rather sizable elephant in the room. According to an analysis from Citi, the ongoing trade battle between Beijing and Canberra could impact the ongoing economic recovery. Under a scenario where Australia's exports to China drop by 10%, it was predicted total GDP would reduce by 0.33%. However, if the trade battle between Beijing and Canberra escalated to the point where exports to China dropped by 50%, it could cost the economy as much as $76 billion, around 3.8% of GDP. With the OECD forecasting the Aussie economy to grow by 3.3% in 2021, if this downside scenario was to be realised, the recovery of the economy in the new year would be effectively blunted entirely. While it may seem like Australia has once again dodged the bullet, the road back to stimulus-free economic reality has more than its fair share of uncertainty ahead. Between all the various headwinds, such as the conclusion of JobKeeper and the Job Seeker Supplement, predicting how households will react to the recession beginning to really bite remains a challenging task to say the least. Ultimately, despite the current confidence in a quick and relatively painless recovery, the path back to prosperity remains a challenging one, amid an increasingly uncertain world. How things will play out in the new year remains anyone's guess, but if 2020 is anything to go by, we may get more than our fair share of surprises. So there we have it, everyone. And another thing that I'll be interested to see is the impact of removing trading while insolvent, and then the end of the mortgage holiday and the end of the banks, playing all nicey nice and actually deciding to foreclose after September. We'll have to see. There's a lot to play out, everyone. What do you think? Do you think unemployment will peak at 15%? And that's the ABS ones. What do you think we'll see from the Roy Morgan data? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support creating content here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays or Teespring. Use the Gold Pass app from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.